because they're not processing. Okay, so 2x squared plus 9x plus 4 equals 0. First thing we need to ask ourselves is is it set equal to 0? And the answer is yes. Is it in standard form? Yes. Then if I want to try it by factoring, try to solve by factoring, what's the first thing I need to ask myself when it comes to factoring? Do I have a GCF? And the answer there is no. So then my next question, there's a lot of questions to ask yourself before you just start a problem, is how many terms do I have? And so what kind of factoring am I going to use? I know you're like, that was 2 questions. How many terms do I have? 3. So what kind of factoring would I use? Xbox. All right, here we go. So we have A times C, which is 2 times 4, which is 8. And the B value is 9. Okay? Sabran, take out your bell work. Let's go. So 8, 9. So I need factors of 8 that add up to 9. There's only one thing that's going to work, and that is 1 and 8. Now, does this just have A equal to 1 so I can do that nice little shortcut? No. So we have to do the box here. And in the upper left-hand corner, wearing the blue trunks, I have what term? 2x squared. Yes, it is the full first term. And in the bottom right-hand corner, wearing the other blue trunks, it's positive 4. And then in the other two, doesn't matter which one's which, but if you want to be the same as me, I'm putting 1x here. You need to multiply it by x, and 8x. All right, so then we need to find the greatest common factor of each row and column. So 2x squared and 8x is going to give me 2x. And 1x and 4 is going to give me a GCF of 1. And then going up in the column, 2x squared and 1x is going to give me 1x. And 8x and 4 is going to give me not x, just 4. So therefore, my factors are 2x plus 1 and x plus 4 equals 0. Remember, this is an equation. We are trying to solve. So am I done yet? No, these are factors. We need to solve for x. But if I have 2 factors multiplied that equals 0, I need to set each of them equal to 0 because one or both has to be 0. So I need to figure out what my x value is when I set these equal to 0. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, okay. So let's subtract 1, subtract 1. I'm trying to get the x by itself. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X is equal to negative 1/2. And subtract 4, subtract 4. X is equal to negative 4. And what do we call these? These are my roots, my zeros, my x-intercepts, my solutions. So they would be a parabola that would cross the x-axis at negative 1/2 and negative 4. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, let's take a look at the second one. It says 6x squared minus 2x minus 1 equals 0. What do you want to try? Should we try by factoring? Somebody at the door? Let's try by factoring again. It worked the last time. Maybe it'll work again. So try by factoring. Hello. TJ? And you are? Oh, okay. Sure, real quick. Really quick. I love it. You got to say who you are and what you're from. You know, I'm like, is this just a student coming around? Nobody ever comes and talks to me. Okay, so factoring, it's set equal to 0. Do I have a GCF? No. So we have 3 terms. We try X box. 6 times -1 is -6. My B term is -2. I need factors of -6 that add to -2. Hi. Okay, you can just set it in that green bin right there. Perfect. Thank you. Are there factors of -6 that add up to -2? 1 and 6, 2 and 3? No, not looking good. So, hey, we can skip this problem, right? No, that means we need to go to quadratic formula.
One for weekend testing should report to their testing room. At the end of second hour, I'll make another announcement for group 2 should report to their testing room. Thank you.
So A is equal to 6, B is equal to -2, and C is equal to -1. So it's already set equal to 0. It was in standard form. Here's my A, B, and C. Even before doing the whole quadratic formula, I'm going to look for my discriminant. The discriminant is this part underneath the radical sign. So it's B squared minus 4 times A times C. B is -2 squared minus 4 times A, which is 6, and times C, which is -1. So -2 squared is 4. Please remember to put the parentheses around the -2. Minus 4 times 6 is 24, and times -1 is going to be -24. So we cannot subtract a -24, so we add the opposite. My discriminant then is 28. 28. All right, so then I do x equals the opposite of B. B is -2. Opposite is going to be +2 plus or minus the square root of 28, all divided by 2 times A. 2 times A is 2 times 6, which is 12. Oh, we don't have any of those calculators out, do we? That's bad. Has anybody got one at their seat? No? Who wants to be a brave soul and figure this out? Anyone? No? Well, shoot. Let me go grab one. Do you guys know how to put it in the calculator? That is very important. Someone asked me yesterday, are you going to have that all written out so we can do that? I was like, no, I'm not. Take one down, pass it around. You got one? No. Take one down, pass it around. Take one down, pass it around. So here we go. 2 plus second x squared 28. Enter. I keep passing them down. Divided by 12. Take one and pass it. Enter. Arrows. I got 0.607. All right. It's always good when the teacher matches the students and the students match the teacher. Now, we're going to tell you to round to 2 decimal places. So that's the 0. Look next door, 5 or more. That 0 is going to increase, so it's x equals 0.61. That is just for the positive. Then I'm going to do the negative. So that is 2 minus second x squared, 28, enter, divided by 12, enter in arrows, negative 0.274. Negative 0.274. Round to the hundreds place. 5 or more is going up. If it doesn't go up, it stays the same. So this is negative 0.27. Those are your two roots. Okay? X equals 0.61 and x equals negative 0.27. All right? Any questions about those? So all of this for the bell work, these are all great examples to look back on as you are studying for tomorrow's test. Okay? Just look them over and make sure you know how to do them. All right. So now let's take out your review. And I will entertain and see if you have any questions about the review. First of all, review. And I honestly want you to have tried it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you guys, as long as you have passes, go ahead and go over and check and bring it on up to me, as long as it's not the first 10 minutes or the last 10 minutes of class. Anybody have any particular questions? Number 4 is on the second page. Okay, number 4 says, fill in the blanks below with information about the discriminant. So if we have a positive discriminant, like 52, 13, 24, hike, number of real solutions, how many would I have? 2. Okay, if I have a discriminant that is equal exactly to 0, how many real solutions would I have? 1. And if I have a negative number, like negative 55, negative 16, negative 2, I would have no real solutions. You could say 0. I really wish I would have stuck with no. It's 2, 1, or no. None. So drawing a sketch, if I'm going to have 2 roots, I need to make sure that it crosses that x-axis in 2 different spots. Okay? Hopefully, you should be easily able to circle those. Oh, that's good. Thank you. And what about a picture of a parabola with only one real root? What is that going to look like? Well, it's going to bounce off. It's only going to touch and hit that x-axis and bounce off in the same direction. And it could be going down also. Okay, something like that. And finally, if you have no real solutions, what's that going to look like? It's not going to touch the x-axis at all. It's either all above or all below. It's not a very good parabola, but I think you get the general idea. Okay? All right, so that's 4. What other questions? I would say the harder stuff is toward the back. Which one? 8. Okay. I gotta see which one's 8. 8. Solve the quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. So again, it's going to be very important for you to be able to read the directions. So we have to use quadratic formula here. Write your answer in decimal form, round to the nearest hundredths. All right, so you say to yourself, self. Well, actually, these kind of lead you to it. Letter A, in order to solve, the equation must be equal to what? 0. And is it equal to 0 now? No. So set the equation equal to that number. What would I do to that equation to make it equal to 0? Add 6. Yes. Because on the right-hand side, it's set equal to -6. This is problem number 8. So add 6 on the right-hand side. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. -6 plus 6 gives you that 0 that we're looking for. And out front, 4x squared minus 2x minus 7 plus 6. Wait a minute, Miss Thede. What about, I've got 4 terms over here. What about my A, B, and C? Yeah, you can combine -7 and 6, right? So -7 plus 6 is -1. So these two right here, -7 plus 6 gives you that -1. All right. Then it says find the discriminant. I would say even before you find the discriminant, you want to know what's your A value, your B value, and your C value. So A is equal to 4. B is, what was that? -2. And C is -1. So the discriminant, let's see, we don't even have the quadratic formula on there, but the discriminant is B squared minus 4 times A times C. B is -2 squared minus 4 times your A value of 4 times your C value of -1. So -2 squared is 4 minus, because you need to do multiplication before you subtract. So 4 times 4 is 16. And 16 times -1 is -16. So 4 minus -16, can't do that. Add the opposite. My discriminant is 20. 20. So I know I am going to have 2 real roots. Now I can use the quadratic formula. X equals opposite of B plus or minus square root of, I'm putting discriminant in here because we already figured out what that was, all divided by 2a. So x equals opposite of b. B is -2, so the opposite is going to be +2 plus or minus the square root of 20, all divided by 2 times a. A is 4, 2 times 4 is 8. So you've got to use your calculator. Again, this is really important. You don't know how to do it. So it's 2 plus second x squared gives you the square root, 20. Hit the enter button when you're done with the top numerator. And you should get 2 times the square root of 5 plus 2. Divide by 8. Enter. 2 arrows right above enter. 0.809 for the positive. And it says round to the hundredths place, which is 2 decimals. Look next door. 5 or more, that 0 goes up. So it is 0.809. 8, 1 for the first one. My second one is 2 minus second x squared 20, enter, divided by 8, enter, arrows, -3, -0.309, -0.309. There's the hundreds place, and so that's going up to -0.31. And there are your two roots. Two roots. Probably should say x equals. I don't know if I'll get that cranky tomorrow or not. Probably not. Although I should be. You guys should know that. Okay. All right. What other questions? How about some of that factoring stuff? 9 is very similar to 8. And look at how much space we left you for C and D of number 6. Wasn't that nice of us? Phew. How about the square root properties? Do we remember that? Number 7? Anybody want to see number 7? Just say yes, it's quicker.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Number 7 says use the square root property. You're like, I don't remember the square root property. Well, when you have a quantity squared, like x minus 3, that quantity squared equals 64. And if you know and realize that 64 is a perfect square, you take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of something that is squared, that part that was squared becomes singular, and it's just x minus 3 equals. Now, the square root of 64, we know, is 8. But we also know that you can take -8 times -8 to get that positive 64. So this is where you break it into two parts and say x minus 3 equals the positive 8 and x minus 3 equals the -8. Am I done? No, we need to solve for x. So add 3, x is equal to 11, not or, and add 3, x is equal to -5. Those are your two roots. You would do the same thing for 7b. Take the square root of both sides, make sure you get positive 6 and -6, and then solve for x. All right. How about letter C? Let's do letter C, and let's do it kind of right up above. The directions for 6C say completely factor and solve the polynomial. So I need to factor, that's what we did at the end of the first semester, beginning of this semester, and then solve for the polynomial. So I'm going to put this up here. 16x squared minus 49 equals 0. So you say to yourself, first of all, is it set equal to 0? Yes. Then if we're factoring, well, even before we're factoring, is it in standard form? It is. You do have 16x squared. There is no b, and that's okay. But then there is a c constant. So it is in greatest order down to smallest order of your variable. All right. So then you say, if we're factoring GCF, do I have one? Does 16 divide into 49 evenly? No. How about 2 or 8? 4? No. So no GCF. And then you notice there are how many terms? 2. The only way we know how to factor this without a GCF is to check and see if this is a difference of 2 perfect squares. And you look at this and you're like, oh yeah, 16 is what squared? So that's 4 squared, and x squared is beside it, minus 49 is a perfect square, and that is 7 squared. Now, the 4 squared x squared, we can put those together in parentheses and put the 2 on the outside, because that 2 is squaring what it touches, and it's touching the parentheses. So it is going to square both things on the inside. Now, if you remember, this goes with a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. So here is my a, here is my b. Boy, you're starting to sound like me now. So this is 4x plus 7 and 4x minus 7 equals 0. Hey, that looks pretty, doesn't it? I'm done, right? No, you've got to solve. And again, if you have 2 factors that are set equal to 0, set each of them equal to 0 and solve for x. So 4x plus 7 equals 0. Minus 7, 4x equals negative 7, divide by 4, divide by 4. X is equal to negative 7/4. That's one of your roots. And over here, 4x minus 7 equals 0. Plus 7 plus 7, 4x equals 7, divide by 4, x is equal to 7/4. So those are your 2 roots. See, told you, sound like me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to insult you. All right. What other questions? Do you want to just work on it on your own a little bit right now? Okay. Number 9. We did number 8. Is number 9 a lot different? All right. Ooh, I see a little bit of a difference there. So number 9, mine is at the bottom of another page. How annoying. 3x squared minus 5x minus 9 equals 2x. It tells us use the quadratic formula. So we first help you out by saying in order to solve, the equation must be equal to 0. Set the equation equal to that number. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. It's on the next page. 3x squared, what was it? Minus 5x, minus what? Equals 2x. All right, so what would I have to do to set this equal to 0? Subtract 2x. Subtract 2x. Subtract 2x. Notice where I subtracted the 2x on the left-hand side. Yeah, you can simplify those terms. So you're going to get 3x squared minus 7x minus 9 equals 0. Before I find the discriminant, it is in standard form now. I would look for A, which is 3, B, which is negative 7, and C, which is equal to negative 9. My discriminant, B squared minus 4AC. B is negative 7 squared. put that negative value in parentheses, and especially if you look it up, put it on the calculator, make sure you keep it in parentheses. Minus 4 times A, which is 3, times C, which is negative 9. So negative 7 squared is 49, minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative 9 is negative 108. Check my math. Add the opposites. Jeez Louise. 49 and 108 looks to be 157. I don't think that's perfect square root, unfortunately. So then we do quadratic formula. X is equal to opposite of B plus or minus my discriminant, which we already know, all over 2A. B is negative 7, so the opposite of that is going to be positive 7 plus or minus square root 157, all divided by 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, does anybody really need help with putting it in the calculator? Because I will write it out here. Could write it out this time? Yeah, I will do that. So this would be 7 plus, then you would hit second and the x squared button, because that is the square root above it. Then you would hit 157. Then you hit enter. And that gets you your numerator. Then divided by and 6. Hit enter again. Bless you. ENT for enter. And then the little arrows. What did you guys get? Anybody try it? Anyone? Bueller? What'd you get?
The first one is 2.9. The second one is negative
2.90.
Yeah.
What was after the 0 initially?
I don't know what to go with. It was 2.89.
Ooh, tricky. 2.898. So the 9 is in the place. You look next door. 5 or more. So 89, when you look at it, even though we only look at the 9, 89 would go up 1/100th to 90. So this is 2.90. Did anybody else get that too? No? Ooh. Let me check. 3 point what? 3.25? Did you get that, Emmanuel? What'd you get?
3.254.
3.254. Okay, so 3.25. So let's see. 7 plus square root 157. Enter.
Yeah, they right.
Okay, so do you see what you did? Yeah, I got 3.25 also. Okay, so 3.254. But hey, better today than tomorrow, right? 3.254. The 5 is here. That does not change. So that is 3.25. And then the negative. What'd you guys get for the negative?
Negative 0.92.
921. Look next door. It is not 5 or more, so x is equal to negative 0.92. X equals. Okay. There we go. All right, so not a lot of time left. I want you to try to finish this for tomorrow because this is very similar to what the test will be. And if you need some extra help, if you go on to Canvas, I know it's on yesterday's. I will check and see if I can add it on today. All the work and all of the answers are on Canvas, okay? But you try to do it yourself first, okay? If you haven't learned how to do it yet, we're not trying to keep it a secret, but we want you to try to do it yourself first. So tomorrow, I will look for your bell work to be turned in, your review, any missing homework, 12.3, 12.4, 12.6, your e-learning assignment, which is on Canvas, okay? So lots to be working on, lots to complete. That's pretty much all I've got. Does anybody else have any questions? So test tomorrow. You guys, several of you did an outstanding job on the last test. Okay? I hope we can do that again. All right? So study a little bit, look over the problems, redo some problems, and we'll be just fine.